Okay, deserving listeners, it's time to continue watching Kalani and Asuelu on 90 Day Fiancé. I'm going to watch it. My name is Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a therapist, and I'm also a professor. I'm going to watch and react. Let's watch.
Hi, baby.
I love that I have so much support from my parents. I just wish that Asuelu would follow their example and help out more with the babies and just help out more around the house.
So, whenever I hear that phrase, it always irks me a little bit when men are expected to help with the parenting and the women are expected to do the parenting instead of both parents doing the parenting. It is an idea passed down through the patriarchy and sexism that men don't have to do it, men shouldn't have to do it, it's women's work, that men are helping with the housework, men are helping with the parenting, and it's not helpful in a variety of ways. And it denies a lot of men the opportunity to enjoy the pros and the cons of parenting. So it's upsetting. But let's see what they say here. Kalani wants to talk with Asuelu about stepping up more. Now, there's a possibility, given what we've seen before. This is several seasons in the future. I don't know, years in the future from the last season. This is a ways after. But anyway, we remember that in the beginning of the relationship, it seemed like there was an overfunctioner, underfunctioner dynamic, a parent-child dynamic between Kalani and Asuelu. And sometimes, as I've been talking about, what happens is the underfunctioner not only arrives to the equation kind of tending to underfunction, tending to be incompetent, tending to need other people to step in for them, but they also will respond when someone talks down to them by pulling away and even acting more childish. So we saw that dynamic where not only did he act childish, seemingly, from the clips that we saw, but Kalani also treated him like a child. And over time, unless therapy happens or unless some weird thing happens, those roles tend to polarize more and more. So there might have been a slight difference in the beginning where she was a little bit more of a mom and he was a little bit more of a child. And as the relationship progresses, the gap gets bigger and bigger and bigger. That's usually what happens in undifferentiated situations. So maybe by this point, Asuelu is particularly being treated like a child and acting like a child. And she is particularly acting like a parent and being treated like a parent. And thus, the parenting role isn't really natural to him and in the family. Also, when you talk down to someone, as I've been talking, if the dynamic continued, and we just have no idea, but if Kalani continued to talk down to him, he might look at the parenting, he might try to parent, and then she steps in and says, no, you're doing it wrong. And he's like, fine, I give up. And that's a dynamic that can often happen as well. But anyway, I don't know, but let's see. I'm really curious how this conversation goes.
Have been doing so much by myself.
What do you mean?
That having 2 kids is hard. There's 2 under 2. So it's nonstop screaming, nonstop diapers, nonstop laundry, nonstop feeding.
I look in the kids sometimes.
Okay, sometimes, but if I'm watching them.
So he's reacting defensively and in not a convincing manner. Yeah, I look on the kids sometimes. He does this sometimes where I'm not sure if he understands what's happening or if it's a cultural difference or if he just likes to deflect through humor and he's exaggerating, because who says that in a situation like that where your wife is saying, hey, I'm dealing a lot with these 2 young kids and I'm working real hard and I'd just like you to do a little bit more. And he's like, I look in on that implies he's not even in the room with the kids doing nothing. He's like in another room. He says, well, I look in on the kids sometimes. Again, is he joking? Is there miscommunication or something? But this isn't starting off well. Now, we always use the show as a jumping off point. What would have been a more healthy response from him, even if he thought, I don't know if this is accurate or fair to be accusing me of this. He could say something like, oh, so you think I I'm not doing enough, or you want me to do more with the kids? Is that what I'm hearing? So you clarify a little bit. Even if you don't agree, you just clarify. And I'm guessing Kalani say, yeah, I guess that's what I'm hoping that you do more with the kids. I'd like you to do more. And then he could say, well, I kind of feel like I'm doing a lot given everything that I'm dealing with, my job and other kinds of things. But okay, what would you like me to do more of? Or is it just a general attitude you want me to have? And then Kalani could say, well, actually, it's just a general attitude. I just feel like you're checked out. You're not really taking full responsibility of the kids. Now, maybe, again, and let me know if you're Samoan, if it's very divided in terms of the parenting responsibilities gender-wise in that society. I really just have no idea. Maybe it's very integrated in that way. I don't know. But that's another factor that could be at play here. Let's continue watching.
24/7.
No, that's
all
not
through the night.
24/7. In Samoa, mostly the mother that taking care of the kids because the mother can't do what the father do.
Okay, so at least according to him, which we don't know for sure, but a sample of one is saying that in Samoa, the tasks are divided between the genders, where women do one thing and men do another. And you hear the way he phrases it. He's like, women can't do the things that men do, and men can't do the things that women do. And so men will do X, Y, and Z, and women will do A, B, and C. And that can work. It's usually not an accurate way of looking at the genders, because certainly men can and do, research shows, raise children just as well as women can. So there's no inherent difference between men and women in these ways. But according to him, anyway, he has this idea that there's a difference there. And that's okay. How do the two of them talk to each other about this? Let's see.
Mother's job in Samoa is not really hard. They're just looking after the kids and cleaning the house.
Yeah. What? Okay. Then why don't you do it? Asuelu, how about you switch? That's always the response to that. Whenever a man says that, I don't understand. You're just home all day, just hanging out with the kids. I mean, I wish I had that. Okay, how about we switch? I go to work and deal with adults and don't have to deal with poop and pee and vomit and screaming and not a second alone in the bathroom. How about you deal with that, and I go to work and go to meetings and sell yogurt at a grocery store, which is what he's doing, and laugh and joke around with people without having to constantly be worrying about someone falling off a table or eating something they're not supposed to eat. Fine, let's switch and let's see your attitude on that. So he is exhibiting a pretty clear sexist attitude. It's not that hard. You just clean the house and you're at home. Now, sometimes that's born out of ignorance. Some people who work all the time, they're working 60 hours a week, they really envy the person that stays home. They're thinking, oh, it'd be so nice to just be able to stay home all the time and wear sweats. But they don't know what it's really like minute by minute, that it's actually hard work. Now, it's not as if working outside the home is this walk in the park. There's a lot of different kinds of jobs, and some of them can be very difficult. But the idea that housework and taking care of children, particularly two young children, is somehow a walk in the park is just a ridiculous notion.
He'll go straight to volleyball. I 100% support Asuelu having a social life. But the thing is, if you're not contributing to your household, you don't get the right to then just leave for hours at a time, because it's like, well, where's my break?
Okay.
Right, that's the equation, is, okay, you can have a break, you can play video games, you can have volleyball, but I get an equal amount of breaks. That's always the equation, because for some families, no one's getting a break. Like, no one is video game playing, no one has volleyball, everyone's overwhelmed. And you might feel like you want a break, but you're looking at your spouse and you're like, well, you're not getting a break, so I guess I'm not getting a break. But if he's getting opportunities to do things, there's nothing wrong with that. But if there's balance, it has to be equal. And you can't just impose a patriarchy and a sexist idea just so you win in that equation. That's not fair.
Contribution in our family don't really matter to me to go date anymore. We just date every day, spend time with the boys. Okay, so dates.
So this is concerning. I would imagine that most people in his position would at the very least say, yeah, it sounds great. Date. She's essentially saying two things. One, she's actually not going all the way down the road that she could. She could say, look, I want date night and I want time to myself. She's actually not saying that. She's saying, look, you have your own time. You have volleyball. You have your video games. You have all these things. I would just like date night. So she's not even saying, I want you to stay home while I go out and do something alone or with my friends. She's just saying, I would just like date night. So most people in his position would say, yay, great. That sounds awesome. I love you, my wife, and I want to spend time with you. But by the way he's answering the question, it almost seems like he doesn't want to spend time with her at all, which is not a good sign. I don't know if I'm reading that right, but I'm wondering what's going on there. Let's find out together, I suppose. All right, well, that does it for that episode. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.